Chapter 7. For Motion. Making the best of it. A notice about a new job opening appeared on the bulletin board in the break room of the packing plant on Thursday. Assistant Plant Maintenance Engineer. Jamal submitted his application for the job on Friday. Anything to get out from under the thumb of Mr. Arvin Parker, he thought. Jamal had spent more time in the library using the employment resources Mrs. Ross had told him about. Having a resume now was a big deal. Most resumes list what job you had and when you had it. But except for some part-time jobs in fast food places that he had during high school and the job at the packing plant now, Jamal didn't have any employment history. At least he didn't have anything he could put on a resume. So instead of making up that kind of work history, he used a computer program that helped him make up a functional resume. It listed all the skills he had, like driving and doing brake jobs on cars, and changing oil, and some other kinds of repairs. His work in the packing house had given him more experience than he wanted in cleaning up stuff and sanitizing and handling waste disposal containers. He didn't enjoy doing much of that, but he wrote it down. He added stuff about being responsible and handling money and customer relationships. He couldn't say he was doing it for Doughboy's customers, but he had the experience and skills, so he figured he could write it down. The human resources lady at the packing house told him he would get an interview. "Wednesday at 2 p.m., she said. "Come here to the HR office and I'll escort you to the small conference room." On Wednesday, Jamal was on the cutting line. He told the shift leader he had an appointment with HR and went to the break room to change into his good clothes. No suit and tie. He didn't have anything like that in his wardrobe, but he looked respectable. He arrived right on time, carrying 2 copies of the resume in that composition notebook he was using to write out the rules. Another man, a Hispanic guy who worked on his shift, was coming out of the conference room. The HR lady signaled Jamal to go in. The man sitting at a small round conference table with his back to the door was making notes about something. When Jamal went around to find a seat, the man looked up and Jamal was face to face with Mr. Arvin Parker. Jamal knew he didn't have a chance. "You got a resume?" Parker asked. "Yes, sir," Jamal said, pushing a copy of his resume over to Parker. He already had Jamal's application in front of him. Parker examined the resume. He paused twice to look up at Jamal and look back down at the resume. Then he grunted, put the papers down, and looked at Jamal. "Now what makes you think you'd be qualified for this job?" he said. "Well, sir, I'm already doing a lot of the kinds of work in the job description, so I have experience," Jamal said. "I've got a good mechanical aptitude, so I know how to work with machines, do maintenance, check out problems, and make repairs. I'm highly motivated. I get along pretty well with all the people on my shift." "I know I'm not the fastest person on the line," Jamal began. Parker snorted, muffling a laugh. "But I do have experience here, and so I have a good understanding of how everything works. And I'm real motivated, too. Got a lot to prove, and I like to show you the work I can do." "Motivated?" Parker said. "So with all that motivation, how come you were just about the slowest person doing the line work?" "Don't know, sir," Jamal said. "I'm just trying to go as fast as I can without cutting myself. It ain't easy work." "Oh, so you're looking for some nice easy work now," Parker said. "I didn't mean it that way," Jamal said. "Stuff that won't take too long?" Parker said. "So you can spend a little more time in the break room? Maybe take nice long time for lunch too?" Jamal knew it wasn't a good idea to say anything. "This resume of yours doesn't say much about your employment history. Before you started here, where were you working?" Jamal paused before saying anything. He went through his options. This isn't a man you can BS, he thought. "I was incarcerated, sir," he said. "Here? In Northern State?" Parker said. "Yes, sir," Jamal said. "Not supposed to ask, and you don't have to answer, but what were you in for?" Parker said. "Drug charge," Jamal said. "Possession with intent." "I did a lot of maintenance work," Jamal said, quickly trying to change the subject. "I can clear drains and unstop toilets, stuff like that. Floor polishing machine, spent a lot of time with that." And are you good and well and thoroughly rehabilitated? Parker said. He said that word like it was a kind of joke. Rehabilitated. I never did drugs myself, Jamal said. I was just working for a crew. Yes, sir, I'm rehabilitated. Parker paused. He was looking hard at Jamal. You had the look of a man who had just done some time. Maybe that's why I had my eye on you. Give you a little special attention. Yes, sir, Jamal said. Sometimes a young man, a boy, can do stupid things, Parker said. Dumb, stupid things. I know that, Jamal said. I mean, I really... Parker cut him off. You don't know the half of it, Jamal. You just got a little taste of how terrible prison could be, Parker said. I lost 7 years of my life because I was young and stupid like you. I had the misfortune of running into a tough-on-crime prosecutor who was getting ready to run for mayor. Locking up stupid black kids was part of his election campaign. I didn't know, Jamal started to say. I don't talk about it, Parker said, but I do keep an eye out for young men such as yourself who might need an extra kick in the butt to stay on course. You mean to tell me you ain't just a plain old SOB who enjoys making life miserable for me? Jamal said. Parker smiled. He actually smiled. Well, he said, there is just a little bit of that going on too. Don't want to see you get too full of yourself. Then Parker shifted gears. Okay, I have your application and your resume. There are 3 or 4 more interviews, so it's going to be a little while before we select a candidate or have follow-up interviews. Do you have any questions? No, sir, Jamal said. You will. Catch me when I'm out on the floor. Let me know what's on your mind. Jamal met the eyes of the man he had thought of as being his biggest enemy, but now he seemed like, well, something else. Maybe not a friend, but not an enemy. Like I said, we have a bunch more interviews, Parker said. Probably won't have a decision until the end of next week. Okay, sir, Jamal said, standing up and collecting his papers and notebook. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate your consideration. Jamal wrote a thank you letter to Mr. Parker the next day, the way all the job hunting resources recommended. He mailed it to ATTN, Mr. Arvin Parker, at the plant. Seemed ridiculous. He could just go in and hand it to the foreman, but sending it in the mail was the right way to do it. That's what all the resources in the library said. Jamal settled down to wait for the final word. He figured that he would have to think about this and worry for at least a week. But Parker surprised him 3 days later. Jamal got the job. His hours changed. He had to get to work an hour earlier. He got a little more money, and he had a lot better understanding about why his boss was being such a hard ass. He still minded it, but he didn't mind it nearly as much as he did before. Sunday dinner. Winter. Cold, 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 Jamal was thinking. He was lucky, though. The Rev advised him to hit the thrift stores before the cold weather set in. He was prepared when it hit. He stomped the snow off his boots and peeled off his bulky jacket. He found room for the jacket, his scarf, and his knit cap on some hooks on the big antique coat rack in the front hallway of Gunny's house. 2 minutes later, Jamal, Gunny, and the Rev were gathered around a big pot of chili on the dining room table. Don't much like all the cold and snow and stuff, Jamal said, but it did turn out to be a good business opportunity. How's that? Gunny asked. After I shoveled out Jennifer, I went down to the hardware store on High Street and got me a decent shovel, Jamal said. Then I got about 3 more houses on Oak Street, her neighbors, and maybe 4 more coming over to Pacific Avenue. The Rev took me on to clean up the stuff around the church that the plow company doesn't do, he said, nodding at the old man. Then he sent me over to the pastor's house, which I did for free, but he gave me a nice tip, and I got 3 more houses on that block. I was almost at your house, Gunny, when one of your neighbors flagged me down, which is why I was running late. Nearly $150, Jamal said. Lot better than a day at the packing house. Profitable day's work, the Rev said. Not all profit. Got to take away the cost of the new shovel. And I took 3 breaks. Spent about $15 for coffee and food. But I'm going to have more than $100 to put in savings. Right? Rule number 1, pay yourself first. The old men smiled. The 3 of them chatted while doing serious damage to Gunny's chili. and there was cornbread, a green salad. Sunday dinner with Gunny was usually a pretty good feed. Later on in the kitchen, Gunny asked Jamal how he was doing. "I'm good," Jamal said. Gunny went on. "No, son. I want to know. How are you really doing?" "It's hard," Jamal said. "I feel like I'm just marching in place. Money coming in, but it's not enough. I feel good about paying Jennifer rent now. She's let me stay on, and I feel like I'm pulling my weight, and that's all a good thing. But it's like instead of my bills going down, they're going up. I've only been putting $5 in savings most weeks," Jamal continued, "and one week I just put in $1. Pretty pathetic," he said. "Actually," Gunny said, "I'm gonna disagree with you on that. You put $1 in savings one week. Hell, son, that shows me you are actually getting it. You're following up on your commitment, even though it's hard." "And don't forget rule number 3, the Rev chimed in. "Baby steps. Little bit at a time to get started. And Jamal, you're just getting started." "Another thing to remember, I warned you about this. You're going to war," Gunny said. "You've got enemies out there trying to defeat you, get your money, get you down, get you depressed and make you want to quit. Sounds to me like you have been holding your own. You're building up a base of operations, got a place to stay with your sister. You've got a strategy. Pay yourself first. And you know what? Today, you just won a battle," Gunny said. "You saw an opportunity, went out and busted your ass, and came up with a nice little unexpected payday. Not bad. Most impressive thing to me," the Rev said, "is that you're thinking about putting it into your savings. That says a lot about how you're doing, Jamal." "You're getting it, son," Gunny said. "Hang in there. Be strong. You are getting it."